How many tries does it take to actually win that stupid challenge? Find out. What's shaking, guys? It's Feldy bringing you another Clash Royale video, and yes, my mic is on. Woohoo! So, I had this challenge that we were facing the modern deck after the classic challenge. So, it took me, and I'm not even kidding you, 15 losses just to go ahead and find a deck randomly. Now, I didn't build any of these decks. It was that deck randomizer. I'm just showing you a couple of these trash decks that kind of popped up here. It is insane what actually these deck randomizers populate in here. I mean, garbage troops, like high elixir together, like the algorithm for it did not make any sense whatsoever. And of course, everybody and their mother is using this the Electro Dragon and healer combo, so you can see how overpowered this is. Again, with the Elixir Golem, it just overpowers your troops that you have. You don't have any kind of cycle cards. You're just gonna get dominated from that. Now, this is obviously, like I said, this is all randomized. You can kind of see in here. Once I won, I would actually keep that deck until the next loss. So typically what would happen is I would lose, I would lose, I would lose, I would win, then I would lose again. I would never go win, 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 win until my last deck, which you guys will see in just a few moments here. But what you are seeing is just kind of this, the lovely decks that I've been playing against and the lovely decks that I was playing with. I did speed these up just so you guys could kind of see, like, you know, how do these mechanics actually function? What decks should you not use, because these clearly are going to be something that you do not want to be using inside the game. Clearly there's a lot of win conditions. I couldn't even help myself but to laugh at like half of these, because these guys don't know what I'm doing, right? They're in the game, they're trying to win, they're trying to get their stuff, and most of them are not with a gold name, so they were like desperate for wins, and I'm just sitting here like, I don't care if I win or lose. So you can kind of see how it all plays out. It's just kind of funny, and honestly, it's really goofy, and kudos to these guys for actually like getting decks that actually made sense, probably doing their research on clashapi.com or whatever it is that you use to find decks and get those decks that actually are powerful in the meta. Clearly, I did not care. This was all for an experiment, just for you guys here. It was actually halfway fun to sit there for, like, I would say 3 hours to go ahead and in real time do this. And then in the meantime, I did have a couple like matches that I had to play. I had a chest that came free. Now this match I actually won, which was hilarious, because during a lot of these matches, I had company over. As you guys know, my daughter went off to school, so like there were a lot of distractions, and you would see like kind of these pauses at times where like I'm sitting there not doing anything, and then I just came back and won with the Sparky deck. And I found that Sparky decks got you to a certain point in this game, especially in the challenge mode. It's over now, you guys can't really do it, but the Sparky decks really were pretty powerful. So then, as you see, the next time I played with the Sparky deck, I ended up losing. I thought I would actually win, especially with this combo of the Elixir Golem plus the Sparky. The guy ended up just having this dominating push with the 3 Musketeers. I couldn't do anything, and I just had to laugh, and it is absolutely pouring rain here. So if you see flashes of lightning, it is absolutely bonkers. I had to have all my lights on just for you guys to see me today, because it is so dark. Anywho, back to the gameplay. We end up playing this next deck that's just horrendous, and the Mother Witch was one of those cards that was giving me a lot of issues, so I was like, ooh, great, I actually got the Mother Witch in a random spin. Then you get my favorite card in the game right now, the Electro Giant, and it's just game over in a matter of seconds. So you could just see, I just was having so much fun laughing my butt off at this. It was just hilarious. I mean, really, what else do you do but laugh at these situations? So I'm kind of fighting these decks, and this one I thought was a fairly equal match. I think the guy actually just really outplayed me. He had a little bit more of a cycle deck than I had. The cards placement, I will say this guy had brilliant placement in terms of where he actually was placing all those cards at, because as you can see, I'm kind of looking at the screen as I'm recording this, and obviously no hands, so just kind of made these edits for you guys. He just had so many good on point like cards at the right time, right? And that's really what this game is about, is predicting your opponent's move, putting that magic archer right at that sight line where those goblins are going to come out of that goblin drill. He just did a really great job, right? So then I get this deck and I'm like, I think this is a pretty good deck. It's got 2 win conditions with the E-Barbs and the Royal Giant, and then it has a Sparky on top of it, and I thought that push right there was really going to actually get me a tower, but he had something else up his sleeve. I threw the Royal Giant down thinking that it was going to re-trigger for some reason. It did not, obviously, but I did end up taking the tower, and then you can kind of just see this whole Electro Giant, or the Elixir Golem, Healer, Electro with Electro Dragon push just kept smashing me. I mean, this was the meta in this deck, right? It was just in the tournament itself, that was the meta. Your healer, your Electro Dragon, and some kind of, you know, other troop that would absolutely dominate. So people would put that Elixir Golem in front. The healing of that would just keep those guys going and churning and burning. So I ended up kind of really liking this deck, but then I ended up getting like some kind of phone call or something. You're gonna see I just end up not even being able to play, and he just ends up taking the tower and ends up killing me, and I am completely done. I'm obviously away from the keyboard. I'm away from my iPad. He wins, but I'm like, wait. I had to actually go, oh, you know what happened? I had to get my kids food. So I was in line at Culver's getting food, and I ended up having to order and then pay, and so obviously I couldn't do anything, so I was like, you know what? That deck was actually halfway decent. I'm gonna play it again. So here, I'm waiting patiently, I'm bleeding elixir, and I just decided, let's just go for it. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to smash this down and really become victorious. This little fisherman, he was doing fantastic work for me. The E-Barbs obviously clean up. When you don't have an answer for the E-Barbs, they are just so powerful. So that poison ended up being really helpful, and I was like, wow, this deck is actually pretty darn good. I throw my Lumberjack on the other side there and take the tower. 3 crown. I'm like, oh my god, this deck is actually legitimate amazing. And I literally cannot believe how much it is raining right now. As I just in awe of how much rain we have had. Alright, so then I'm like, okay, play the deck until you win, right? So was like, why not do it again? And same type of results. Mother Witch was playing against. I had this Magic Archer. Again, this Goblin Drill just kept kind of popping up, and I had my my healer, and I just could go to town. Battle Healer, she was super helpful with this deck. I mean, it wasn't like they had a good deck, right? I just could counter just long enough, especially with that snowball when he threw the bats to have that, Goblin Drill. Like, it was pretty weak, so I could actually really kind of counter it, which was pretty helpful. I ended up getting that 2-1 victory there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is pretty legit. I think I've got one more to win. Sure enough, I'm gonna play this Asian dude. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. He throws down all the log sad faces, and he's like, hey, this is not going to be super fun for me, because he knows he's pretty much toast at this point, because my deck is just overpowering him in every single aspect, and even like the Hunter couldn't kill the E-Barb that I had, which is really weird. So again, you want to know why it's important to upgrade your cards in this, because if you are playing in a challenge and you don't have a level 9 card, it downshifts to whatever level you have. 3 crown victory, boom, it is beautiful. So I'm like, you know what? Let's actually just make this deck and go into the actual meta. So won the challenge, got that legendary card, ended up actually getting a Magic Archer, and then I ended up being able to upgrade my Magic Archer to max, which was fantastic through the gold pass because of that little $100,000 gold coin that you get in the gold pass, which is worth it in itself, guys. For $5, I highly recommend it. Definitely just makes the gameplay that much more enjoyable when you can actually get the card to max when you have the max amount of cards, because the gold in this game, as we all know, is totally garbage. They finally updated it. But I did kind of get this game speed a little bit faster. It's not quite double, but you can kind of see how this mechanic works. And he placed that, oh my god, the hidden Tesla. And my E-Barb was literally 1 tile in the outside range of it, which was awesome, right? So, just a really good deck, a really solid deck. If you guys want to use this deck in the meta right now, it seems to be working fairly well. Not just in a gameplay mode, but actually in the meta itself. So E-Barbs with your battle healer, you've got a Lumberjack, you got the Snowball to kind of help mitigate any kind of bats or, you know, kind of dinky spell. The only thing that you don't have is a zap, which would be really helpful if they did have an Inferno Dragon or an Inferno Tower, but you can kind of see how this gameplay actually ends up. So at the very end here, I'm going to pop this deck up so you guys can kind of copy it here. Definitely would love if you guys try it out and let me know how it goes for you. But essentially, he got my tower, I got that 1 tower, and then it was pretty much GG, game over at that point, because, as you know, this deck is going to come back and win, right? I mean, duh, it's Feldy, it's a video, obviously. And this, honest to God, this is not a lie, this was my very first attempt at the meta in the ladder with this deck, and I won. So, it's not like I'm this god at the game, because you can see how many times I had to lose in order to get that victory, but it is a really powerful deck, and sure enough, that Fisherman ends up winning it all for me. It is nice having that Fisherman boosted this time around. So, if you guys do not have these cards, you could probably substitute something for it, you know, around the same elixir or the mechanic. But that's it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, Feldy, peace!